Bloodborne is two things: good as hell and Lovecraftian to the core. For those less inclined to this specific fiction, the fact that both of these are apt descriptors is even more impressive than it may initially seem. Lovecraft-inspired fiction, as a rule, resists adaptation, in part due to the genre staple of indescribable horror being inherently difficult to express as a visual medium. Add to this the reality of H.P. Lovecraft himself being a profound and miserable racist, a fact that any direct adaptation must recognize and overcome. Bloodborne, though, surmounts these issues and elevates itself with the same design decision, deliberately extracting two key elements of the genre and forming a world and setting around them. Removed from the backdrop of real-world prejudice or the requirements of faithful adaptation, Bloodborne can instead take the approach of homage. The two elements utilized, the fear of the unknown and the nature, cost of eldritch knowledge, form the groundwork and payoff respectively, and their expert use as a core element as well as the freedom homage allows, together arguably stand as reason for Bloodborne's standout quality. Unfortunate but resonant, the fear of the unknown is a deeply human concept that underpins much of the adversity faced by the player, due to their existence as an outsider to the game's world. The boldest and most numerous of the adversities faced comes in the form of villagers and common folk, driven through paranoia and fear, and alien werewolf blood, into a murderous frenzy by your presence. Even those not driven to the same madness share this distrust of the other. As such, any form of aid or advice is rare among the scorn inspired by the perceived danger you represent in the eyes of the locals.
I don't want anything to do with you. Trot along, will ya?
Most insidious of all is the mistrust sowed throughout the game regarding a small number of potentially friendly characters the player directly interacts with, the paranoia seeming to escape even the bounds of the screen itself.
If you wouldn't mind.
All of these adversities, taken as a whole, foster a sense of unease and uncertainty, while also subtly obfuscating the greater truth of the plot. With safety and welcome environments intentionally scarce, the only option available is to press forward, and in choosing to do so, the desire to understand is catalyzed within the player, perfectly folding the first element into the second. Less human, but even more Lovecraft, is the concept of eldritch knowledge. The idea of things in the universe too grand or alien to understand without accompanying corruption or suffering. When invoked in the Lovecraftian horror genre, this concept traditionally entails the use of specific plot elements. For Bloodborne, these elements are the irresistible desire in some to obtain this forbidden knowledge, and the hubris inherent to the same. These elements are evidenced throughout the game by multiple characters particularly important to the game's greater cosmology. Of several possible examples, two specifically come to mind: Master Willem and Mikolash, host of the Nightmare. The former seeking to understand the cosmic truth inherent to the universe, and the latter trying to spawn a reality of their own. Both of these characters meet their end at the hand of the player as a direct result of actions taken in the pursuit of these hubristic desires. This tandem concept stands so instrumental to the plot that most, if not all, of the challenges faced throughout the game stem from similar actions and desires of those in pursuit of the unknowable. As with the first element, this notion can even be brought to bear on the player. The most complete ending to the game requires the player to ignore the numerous examples set throughout, and resolve to willingly seek the same knowledge, and potentially the same downfall. By the end of the game, the alien nature of this concept is on full display, carefully crafted, focused, invoking the most interesting elements of Lovecraftian fiction while avoiding the pitfalls of direct connection. Bloodborne stands as an exemplar of the genre, not just for what it takes, but for what it leaves behind. The adversity of the first half, fantastical yet rooted in human nature, draws the player into the world with endless questions rarely answered. The dawning truth and grander horror of the second half exist to invite the otherworldly strangeness into the spotlight, answering questions with more questions and enticing the player yet deeper still. Both lie core to the experience, of Bloodborne, and of a truly great Lovecraftian work that begs, nay, demands to be played by any that would be enticed. I've been the Indie Nomad, and I have a final warning from one hunter to another, so that if you are among those enticed, you might yet survive this dreadful night. Fear the old blood.